Welcome to Two Shy Girls Podcast. I'm Simone,
And I'm Anne.
and today we are filming from apart again. So if there are technical difficulties or you can't hear what Anne says because she's the one being recorded on the computer, just pretend it didn't happen and keep going. All right, what are we talking about today? I didn't get prepared.
Uh, we could talk about the hundreds of absentee ballots in Detroit, Pennsylvania missing, not delivered.
Well, yeah, we could. Let's talk about that. What's going on there?
So, according to what I read from a Forbes article about 6 hours ago, approximately 500 mail-in ballots in Detroit were never delivered to voters. Potentially thousands of ballots in Butler County haven't been delivered. And as we know, this is Pennsylvania, the Detroit area. This is like a key battleground state. So
Yeah.
Yeah, it's concerning.
Yeah, so I hope those people just like go out and actually vote. I realize that most people don't have election day off, which it should be a federal holiday every year, but it's not. My little sister has Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday off next week.
Oh,
They're
nice.
giving them, and they're still gonna be done by December 8th. So I'm a little jealous because we don't get any of the days off. Um, Not even election day.
I don't understand. I never understood how it makes sense because a lot of places will give off for, and they still call it Columbus Day, much to my annoyance. But they want to celebrate Columbus, a weird murderer white dude, but they don't want to let people go exercise their right to vote. So
I think my school is definitely taking a stance. They were like, you destroyed the school when there was rioting, so we're not gonna let you vote. So, so I think that's what they're doing because they're like, well, individual professors have planned in their schedule, and I'm like, I mean, I will go to class. No, I won't. That's my sexual orientation in the law class. I'm not going. I'm not going. My sexual orientation in the law class, he doesn't even notice who's there. He just be speaking.
well, there you go. And if he argues, you just tell him. I mean, this is a law school. You think out of all types of schools, they would be the ones that.
And frankly, he's very much like worried about the court. So, I think he'll be like, yeah, vote please. He's a nice guy. Um, but he just rambles. He's giving us our exam before Thanksgiving. So like he doesn't care anymore. He's just like goodbye.
Those are my favorite professors.
And it's not due until the end of exam period. So
Nice.
I know.
I should have stayed in law school.
Yeah, there's every exam is now a take home exam. So everyone has a window to do it.
Hmm. That takes a lot of anxiety off. I mean, honestly, thinking back to last spring when we took the exams virtually, I remember one of our classes where we had a very short window to do it. And somehow it felt even worse than when we did it in person.
Yeah, because at least when you're in person, like you see everyone struggling together. Like we're like in this. But when you're by yourself, you're like, first off, you're alone. And second, are you gonna jump on my shoulders? Please don't.
That's not what I think during an exam, but oh, okay.
Yeah. Sorry, my cat likes to jump on my shoulders. She loves to do this in the middle of class. It's the best. Um, but yeah, like you're alone, and you don't know what's going on because if your internet fails, like you're shit
Mm-hmm.
out of luck. They're not gonna help you. And then you didn't learn half the semester because we were online and teachers didn't know what they were doing. it's a whirlwind, but
This is why I just straight up admitted to my students today that I am new to this as the teaching part. So I understand that things might not go perfectly, and that's okay. We're easing it. But I feel like some people, not enough instructors did that last spring. There was just like this automatic assumption that we could take what we did in person and just automatically translate it to online, and it doesn't work like that.
yeah, it really doesn't work, but whatever, like whatever. A lot of people are pushing for diploma privilege, and I'm 100% behind diploma privilege. It does not make sense that we get through law school and law school prepares us for the bar. Law school prepares you to practice, kind of, but also tries to prepare you for the bar. But then you have to spend a whole summer studying for the bar, and then you may or may not pass it. And then also, now it's going to be done virtually, and the facial recognition doesn't even recognize dark skin. So,
Wow.
yeah, because they have an AI to see if you look away from the screen,
Huh, okay.
but it doesn't recognize people darker than Sage. Like she's the darkest that they will recognize. And so it'll just think you're cheating the whole time.
That's fucked up.
Yep, it is. Yes, it is. It's a
There's
real
obviously a
problem.
way to fix that. I mean, come on. There's so much tech out there right now, so
Yeah, right. Like if my iPhone can recognize my face, like I'm sure you can get an AI robot to do it too. Like
mhm.
you just don't want to pay for it, and you like keeping black and brown folks out of the system, and so if they're caught cheating, then they won't be in there. So but the MPRE is not on like it's you have to go to a testing center still.
Hmm.
Like the MPRE has always been you have to go to a testing center, but they didn't change it because you're already using your own laptop. You just have to be in a center. So they didn't change it. They were like just we're going to have more dates and more centers and just socially distance, which I think the bar exam can do too because you're also using your own laptop for the bar exam. So I don't understand. Barbary, get out of here. You're a scam. A whole scam.
What?
Oh,
Barbary?
so fun fact about Barbary. They're doing this thing that you know how like for 2L courses, like they'll have the upper level course thing. And they're doing it so that you put $21 to get the upper level course thing. But once you get the upper level course, if you use it a substantial use, which they consider a substantial use to be opening one video, then you're locked in for all of Barbary's coursework, which means the bar prep too. And
Hmm.
so then you go from $21 to like $2,500.
Why should I don't understand why bar prep stuff should have a price tag on them in the first place.
I mean, I get it. You don't have to like buy a bar prep thing. Like it
Yeah,
helps.
but I mean, then a lot of times you're kind of then because there's like tests aren't just about like the questions that are on them. It's also about like the format that they are, and then it's not just like about what they're asking, but it's like how they phrase it. And a lot of those test prep programs know that and they're familiar with these tests. So I don't know. For me, I always thought it's kind of some people an unfair advantage if they can, because it's based off like, can you afford this, whatever type of testing prep program. Um,
Yeah, I mean, they're not cheap. Like JD Advising is probably the cheapest, but JD Advising has been around for 2 years. And then like Kaplan is just crap. So there's that. And then Themis is the next cheapest, which like you might not like the interface that Themis uses, but it's also about $1,000 cheaper than Barbary. So I mean, I'm a Themis rep, so I guess I have to like Themis, but and I do like Themis because they didn't make me pay for my upper level course packets like stupid Barbary.
Yeah,
But
I remember I took one of their classes for LSAT, and I had to say it's ridiculous that when I looked at the materials they gave me, like I realized at that point there is like no way like I could have understood the LSAT until like I took Barbary because, and it's only because they have access to like again like the formatting of the test, and they work like closely with the people who make the test, and it's just like, huh, that's interesting. Okay, so you have to pay all this money to learn how to take this test. If it's just, I don't know.
yeah, you have to pay all this money to learn how to take the test, and then you take the test. Got to pay money to do that. If you need to retake the test, if you need to cancel your scores, then you have to apply to law school, and for some reason you have to pay the LSAC $40 for them to send digital information, and for each school you have to do that. And like, why? Like, why? Like, it's a money pit. And then let's not talk about the cost of law school. Oh, did I disturb? Did I? Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, I remember when UIC was talking about becoming like the first like public law school in the area, and I just like when they said that, I was like, huh, that's really ridiculous that we have gone this long with no public law school. And even though it's a public law school, it's still expensive.
Right, like Chapel Hill is a public law school, and they're still $60,000. Like, it's not like it's cheaper to be a public law school. It just is considered public. Like, it's not. It bears nothing to the price.
Which defeats the whole purpose of public.
I mean, and I like my school, but I think they are too expensive. And then when we were like, "Hey, can we get a tuition cut?" They were like, "Sorry, we can't pay. We won't be able to pay teachers, and we have to pay teachers." And we're like, "Well, you don't have to pay them as much. Like they could take a pay cut like the rest of the world." And they were like, "No, no." Well, really, what they were like, "That's the board of trustees." And we're like, "Why would a bunch of old white men in a room be like, you know what? We want to charge them less." No, tuition went up. Like they're like, well, we have to cover the cost of sanitation. Well, you should have been paying people to clean already. Like this shouldn't have been an issue because you should have been paying people to clean already.
No, that's like when the CTA was like, we're gonna start like washing things down every day and hiring more people to wash them down. I was like, you weren't doing that before?
Right, like you should have been doing that before. That's why the
Mhm.
flu runs so rampant in Chicago is because we have to get on CTA, the majority of us, and we're all like touching poles, sitting in seats. Like, yeah, sure, maybe we have gloves, but we're not paying attention to like where that glove transfers.
Hmm. And it
Like,
makes you wonder, like, what happens when COVID is over? All those people that are working right now in sanitation, what's going to happen to them?
hopefully, we keep it around because we should still be sanitizing. Also, COVID
Exactly.
is
That's
never going
the
to be
thing
over.
that they should do. That's the thing that they should do.
COVID is never going to be over, so it really doesn't matter. We will forever be in COVID until the
I've,
whole world
I've
dies out.
already determined that. We're like right back to where we started again.
No, Illinois hit another, like the highest level of cases that they have ever had in one day, 5 days ago. No news about it.
That's insane.
The
And
highest
there's
number of cases.
nothing You can't see anything. I've noticed with the schools, you can't say they're no longer reporting like outbreaks in schools, at least with lower than the university level. So if anyone thinks that schools are going around and not being hit by this, that's not true. They're just
well, your whole school has to quarantine.
Not my whole school. That's the crazy thing about this is with these guidelines too with schools, they don't close down the whole school. So that's the other thing. That sometimes they might if they get enough of a quote outbreak, but if they think it can be contained, they'll only send a cohort home.
Yeah, but then you got to think the cohort, all their siblings, like then their
exactly.
So just send the whole school home.
Which is going to be interesting because I know Chicago is talking about going back in a couple days. And I know they had a very similar plan that if someone in a cohort tests positive, we'll just send the cohort home.
But like you can't just send a cohort home because you don't know where they got it, right? Like they could have got it within the school, they could have got it from a teacher, and the teachers are all interacting with each other, and then they're interacting with their students, and then they're all eating lunch in the same place. Like you don't know where they got it. Exactly. Contact tracing is not, unless we're all gonna wear Bluetooth devices to be contact traced, which no, they're never gonna know like where they picked it up.
And then the other issue too is, and I don't think people realize this too, is you can only do so much as far as like not mixing cohorts in the school. But what do you think happens after school? I mean, it's just common. It's just common practice. Kids go off, mix together, and that's it. You know,
it's like when colleges that are in person are like, "There's no outbreak, bitch." Yes, sir. Do you see them people partying? I'm sure it's an outbreak. Like, I'm sure. And you're just not telling anyone. Or they're misdiagnosing me like it's the flu. And you're like, okay, but you didn't test me for COVID. So how do you know it's the flu? Well, because you have all the flu symptoms. Yeah, no shit. Like, they're all the same symptoms.
Mm-hmm.
But if I ran the world.
I wish you did.
I know. I wish I did too. But here I am, a law school student. But I think that the pre-existing condition portion of the Obamacare is not going away. The pre-existing condition portion of the Obamacare, I think that's going to stay.
Okay.
Some healthcare analyst from Wolters Kluwer told me about it. But then, the mental health parity, like we got to worry about that. But because, Republicans don't like mental health. They like to drink.
They do. And pray to white Jesus.
Pray to white Jesus. We got to drink and pray to white Jesus. All you need is some wine.
Yeah, I've been having trouble predicting politics lately. Like, I don't know. Every time we say like, "Oh, there's no way that they're gonna like slash this," then they do it.
Right? Like we were like, "There's no way they're gonna confirm Amy Coney Barrett," and then they did.
Yeah.
And then they did. Did you know she's never tried a case?
That's ridiculous.
And now she's a Supreme Court justice. Like, does she even know how to write an opinion? Like,
probably like one like long, weird rambling, knowing her Christian shit.
Be like, white Jesus told me that the black people were bad. Did white Jesus tell you that?
Do you remember when, I don't know if you were following, this is like historically accurate and there's tons of evidence to back this up. Obviously, Jesus was not white. And I remember like it was like a month ago when Shaun King just said, like, here's the evidence, and this is just a fact. There's no way Jesus was white. And people lost their shit. Like, insane. Talking about, like, banning him and, like...
Do you know the My Pillow guy?
Yeah.
Mike Lindell?
Mm.
So apparently he's really into public policy. You know, my therapist works for also for a news organization. And so they were doing an interview with Mike Lindell at a Trump rally. And he said that we should just pray more and COVID will go away because this is God's punishment for all the sinners. He then said that COVID also could be cured with a healthy dose of vitamins. Okay. And then he continued. This was a 30-minute interview. He continued to say that addiction should not be treated with healthcare professionals and that they should, with mental health professionals, they should get rid of mental health licenses and just let cops deal with it. Just let cops deal with it. Just let cops. What? Like, I don't understand. What are the cops gonna do with a depressed me? Like,
I mean, we saw that the other day. What happened? Was it in Philadelphia? Was it?
Oh yeah, I think so.
Yeah. So, but here's the thing, and this has been for a long time. If for people of color, and mental illness, police just like. There's just like there's tons of evidence out there. The treatment is between like a white person and a person of color who's going through a mental breakdown is just so vastly different. And so when people like are saying like, well, let's let the cops handle it, like they know perfectly well what they're saying.
Well, yeah, and like while my therapist is white, we relate on the basis of that we're both not like straight. But it means something to have somebody in your corner that knows a little bit about what you're going through, right? Like for me personally, like yeah, sure I might have wanted a black therapist. I had to, you have to pick. You can't just like but it would have made a difference because they would have understood where I was coming from as far as my heritage and my background with like familial ties and things like that. It would have been easier to understand and not have to explain it. Which I don't explain it because I have lived around white people my whole life. My mom just discovered, she was like, did you know that the neighbor is a Trump supporter? And I'm like, Mom, you live in the middle of the Bible Belt in North Carolina. Like, of course they're Trump supporters. And she was like, well, did you know about this person? And I was like, Mom, I literally could have told you that. And she's like, well, every Friday he wears a different Trump t-shirt to like show on Facebook. And I'm like, Mom, that's why I just be deleting these bitches because I don't need them in my life, Like it's not something I need. But also they're from Pennsylvania, so I'm glad they're voting in. I mean, like, no, they're not. They're from Pennsylvania. So, that gives us hope. Anyway. Well, Anne, how's your quarantine going?
I keep forgetting I'm in quarantine. Like I'm about to step out. I'm like, nope, you can't do that. And then I'm like, I keep like convincing myself. I'm like, you don't need to get tested. You're fine. Just stay inside the 2 weeks and you'll be fine. But then, like, when it gets to, like, now, I'm like, ugh, I could feel myself, like, getting worse. And I'm like,
just go get tested. Just go get tested.
Well, apparently, and I learned this from my school, there are different types of tests, and certain ones are more accurate than others, but they're harder to get unless you can go through your doctor. So there's this one, I think it's called the PCP, I believe.
Why would it be called the PCP?
I don't know.
All right.
I don't know. PC something.
All right.
But
it could be PCP.
It could. I don't know. But yeah, I gotta look this up now. I need the name. It was like PC something. I was like, what? That's a little weird. Anyway, but like, there's one test that's like the most like accurate, but it's harder to get unless you go through your doctor. Or they like, it's like weird. It's like almost like a matching system. Unless you get like matched up to be like, oh yeah, you definitely need this like test that's the most accurate, which is like insane.
I would just go to Howard Brown personally, and do one of the drive-through ones because.
But that's the issue. Is sometimes the problems with the drive-through ones they find out is they're not very accurate. Like I remember when my brother went to get his. And it came back negative, and he was like, okay, well, I'm definitely like, I'm feeling like I like the breathing issues, the exhaustion, the fever won't go down. And then his work screened him through a doctor, and the doctor said, okay, I'm going to give you the recommendation for this test, this certain test, the referral for it. And you're going to go over to this hospital and you're going to take it. So he got that test, and sure enough, it came back positive. And then they explained to him is basically, for some odd reason, this test is just more accurate. Which is insane.
Okay, well, you go get screened and get an accurate test because I need you to know, because I need your school to stop being a bunch of assholes.
I mean, honestly, but my prediction is no one's going back in like after Thanksgiving. I mean, at this point, because they straight up went and changed, and this is all schools. They changed the directive where it went from if you test positive, or if you're displaying like these certain symptoms, the student goes home. But if they like don't get the test and they're feeling fine, they can come back. To now it's like if you display any of these symptoms, you have to go home and you are not welcome back on school until you get tested. Which I was just like, I can't believe we didn't have that before. Because then you were just going based off of family's judgment of, well, he doesn't seem that sick.
Well, yeah, you're also like leaving it up to families. Like, if he doesn't seem that sick and I gotta go to work, I'm sending my kid to school. Like, I personally, I would not, because I am a good person. But other people are not so good people, and they will send their kid to school when they are sick.
Which obviously happens.
Well, let's keep this one short, because, George has a bunch of family stuff going on, and he edits them, so...
Yeah, of course.
Keep it short for him. But this has been the Two Shy Girls podcast. If you want to follow us on our social media, we kind of post sometimes. Facebook.com/Two Shy Girls. Twitter and Instagram @Two Shy Girls. This has been fun, y'all. Bye.